Mary Louise Cook here. Welcome on in to another episode of FCS All-In after an incredible week in the FCS that included 6 FBS wins. Today's episode will feature the conferences around the FCS, as well as national correspondent Sam Herder of Hero Sports and Craig Haley of Stats Perform. With all eyes on the FCS in week 2, let's go All In.
Week 2 of the Big South football schedule sees 5 of the 9 Big South members playing at FBS opponents, just 2 home games on the docket, and the season openers for both Charleston Southern and Robert Morris. Let's take a closer look at the Week 2 slate. North Carolina A&T fell in its season opener at Furman and traveled to Duke last night for its second all-time meeting with the Blue Devils. In 2019, Jermaine Martin ran for 82 yards and a touchdown in the first ever meeting between the schools. Kennesaw State plays its third ever FBS opponent today and first against a Power 5 member as the Owls visit Georgia Tech at noon. KSU head coach Brian Bohannon spent 5 years at Georgia Tech as the quarterback's coach before being tabbed to start up the Kennesaw program in 2013. Charleston Southern kicks off its 2021 season this afternoon with a crosstown trip to local rival the Citadel. The Bucks are seeking their first 1-0 start under head coach Autry Denson and have won twice in the series. CSU is opening the season against the Bulldogs for the 6th time in its history. After last week's game at Dayton was canceled due to COVID concerns, Robert Morris looks to start its 2021 campaign today with a trip to FBS member Central Michigan. It will be the first of 7 first-time opponents for the Colonials this year, the most among the Big South football members. Campbell plays its first home game today since 2019 as the Camels welcome CAA football member Elon to Barker Lane Stadium at 6 p.m. It will be the first meeting between the squads. Campbell is seeking its first win of the season after falling at FBS member Liberty last Saturday. Gardner-Webb nearly knocked off FBS member Georgia Southern last week as the Runnin' Bulldogs lost by 5 to the Eagles 30-25. GWU faces another FBS foe this evening with a short trip up Interstate 85 to face the Charlotte 49ers. Quarterback Bailey Fisher threw for 315 yards and 3 touchdowns last week at GSU. Monmouth is looking to bounce back after its season-opening loss at Middle Tennessee with a nearby trip to Fordham tonight. The Hawks lead the series 2-1 and carry a streak of 11 consecutive regular season FCS wins into the contest. Monmouth has not started a season 0-2 since 2015. Another local matchup this evening features Hampton at FBS member Old Dominion. The Pirates were victorious in their season opener over Virginia Union, with Darren Butts and Elijah Burris combining for 279 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns in the win. Burris was named the National Freshman of the Week for his 136-yard, 3-touchdown performance. North Alabama locks up with number 24 Chattanooga tonight in Florence. The Lions kept pace with nationally ranked Southeastern Louisiana last week before falling, and quarterback Jalen Gibson was the main reason. He had 350 passing yards and 4 touchdowns in his Lions debut, becoming the first Big South quarterback to reach those totals in a season opener. There's your snapshot of the Big South schedule for Week 2. Enjoy the games, and be sure to follow Big South football all season on ESPN Plus and on social media at Big South Sports.
Plenty of action around the Southern Conference for Week 2 of the FCS football season. It was a memorable opening weekend for the league, with a number of teams playing in high-profile televised contests. None bigger than ETSU's win on the road at FBS foe Vanderbilt out of the SEC. The results saw 6 Southern Conference teams begin their 2021 fall campaign unblemished, and 3 make their way into this week's FCS Coaches Poll. An examination of that poll reveals ETSU at 19th in the country, VMI tucked right in behind at 20th, and Chattanooga sitting at 24th, tucked just inside the top 25. Furman and Samford are also receiving votes in this week's polls, thanks to their season-opening victories last weekend. Speaking of starting the season with a win, our first look at the Southern Conference football standings reveal ETSU, Furman, Mercer, Samford, VMI, and Wofford as the 6 schools who share that in common. Let's take a look back at some of the highlights from last week's season-opening wins for those schools. ETSU's win over Vanderbilt was one of 6 FCS wins over FBS opponents in the opening weekend of the college football season. This one was a no-doubter, with ETSU taking down the Commodores 23-3 for its first win over an FBS foe since 1987. It was also the first loss to an FCS program for the Nashville Crew all time. Quay Holmes led the way for the Bucks with 149 yards gained on 23 carries, and 3 fourth-quarter turnovers forced by the ETSU defense made the difference, including a 27-yard fumble which was returned for a touchdown by Stephen Scott. Again, the final, 23 points for ETSU. Vanderbilt held to just 3. Travis Blackshear's well-rounded day defensively led Furman to a win over a ranked opponent as they took down North Carolina A&T 29-18. Blackshear picked up a sack, forced a fumble, and also had an interception on the day in Furman's season opening win. Samford scored 52 points in a victory over Tennessee Tech. Quarterback Liam Welch completed 75% of his passes, threw for 4 touchdowns in the 52-14 win. Speaking of major point totals, Mercer put together a record-breaking evening, 69-0 the final in its Thursday win over Point. The Bears set a school record for both points scored and total offense while holding Point to less than 100 yards in the game. VMI got the better of Davidson in a battle of 2 premier programs from a year ago. The defending Southern Conference champions scored 45, holding Davidson to 24. Wofford was a 24-22 winner in a thriller over Elon, making the Terriers the 6th and final team in our review off to a 1-0 start. SoCon preseason favorite Chattanooga experienced a home setback at the hands of Austin Peay, a 10-point separation and a 30-20 final. The ultimate outcome there. Western Carolina fell to Eastern Kentucky by a final of 31-28, and in an all-Palmetto State showdown, the Citadel came up short against FBS nationally ranked Coastal Carolina. This week's Southern Conference slate begins with VMI on the road at Kent State for an 11:30 a.m. kick. The Citadel welcomes in Charleston Southern at 2 p.m. Furman is on the road at Tennessee Tech at 2:30. Mercer will play up against the top-ranked team in all the land, a 4 p.m. kick against Alabama. Chattanooga is at North Alabama for a nighttime kick. Other 7 p.m. kicks include Samford at UT Martin, Western Carolina at highly ranked Oklahoma, and UVA-Wise being welcomed in by that high-riding ETSU squad. This has been our glance around the Southern Conference for Week 2 of the FCS football season.
Football is back in a big way in the Big Sky with Week 1 now behind us and 3 teams having collected FBS victories, the most ever for one weekend in the league. Eastern Washington took down UNLV in double overtime last Thursday despite trailing by 3 at the half. Senior quarterback Eric Berrier finished the game with over 400 yards of total offense, with 374 coming through the air. Aggie quarterback Hunter Rodriguez also passed over 300 yards to open the season with 311, which allowed the team to get past Tulsa. The victory marked the first win for a Big Sky team over an American Athletic Conference member. Montana commanded national attention after taking down number 20 Washington for the first time in over 100 years. Defense was key as the Grizzlies held the Husky offense to just 65 rushing yards and came away with 3 interceptions at key moments. The 13-7 road victory was one of the biggest upsets in FCS history. With Week 1 in the rear view mirror, the Big Sky has 5 teams in the top 15, with Montana making the biggest jump to 4th and 5th overall. With Defensive Player of the Week, Montana linebacker Marcus Wellnell playing a huge role. Let's take a look at what he had to say when I chatted with him earlier this week.
The Grizzlies defeated the nationally ranked Washington Huskies in historical fashion. It was a surprise to a lot of people. Was it a surprise to you and your team?
Not really, no. I mean, we don't ever go into a football game thinking you're going to lose. So, and we even thought all week, they're a good team for sure. The reason they're 20 ranked, but we thought we could do it, and we did it. So it was pretty cool.
What gave you so much confidence heading into your first game of the season?
Just the coaching staff believing in us and telling us we could do it, and then the players, finally believing it to looking at film, like, hey, we can do this. We had some good days of practice, and we just knew we could do it.
What were some of those things that, especially from the defensive perspective, that you felt were working really well heading into this game?
Just our plan. I think we had the coaches put together a really good plan on what they could do. We all had a very good understanding of what they were going to try to doing. So just knowing that if we went out there and executed what we were supposed to do, that it would be good.
All right, let's talk about that interception on the Huskies' final drive. I'm sure you knew this was coming. When did it sit in for you that you had sealed the deal for your team, rather?
I mean, just when I hit the ground, when the ball hit my hands, I realized I caught it. It was pretty nerve-wracking seeing the ball fly through the air, but once I did it, and then Jace came up and tackled me, and the whole team did, it was a pretty surreal experience, just the whole team going crazy.
What was going through your mind in that moment?
It's kind of a blur thinking back to it, just really what was going on, but it was awesome. Just knowing that we had finally did it, it was cool.
You can find Marcus's full interview on Big Sky Social, and here's a rundown of all the Week 2 action. And that's all for the Big Sky. Be sure to follow at Big Sky FB for around-the-clock coverage.
Welcome to the Missouri Valley Football Conference Extra Point. I'm Kelly Burke, and the hashtag #FearTheFCS is in full effect heading into Week 2 of the season. South Dakota State is one of 6 FCS teams to upset an FBS school this fall, doing it in dominating fashion. The Jacks dismantled Colorado State 42-23. New quarterback Chris Oladokun dazzled in his debut, accounting for 3 touchdowns, 224 yards passing, and a 19-yard scoring run, finishing with no turnovers. Pierre Strong led the ground game with 138 of the Jacks' 242 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns, including a 75-yard run to get the scoring started. For the Jacks, it was a balanced offensive attack, wideout Jaden Yonke leading the receiving corps with 6 catches for 92 yards and 2 scores. Northern Iowa pushed 7th-ranked Iowa State, one of the nation's top offenses, to the brink. South Dakota lost a heartbreaker to Kansas, and Missouri State's furious second-half rally came up just short against Oklahoma State. The much-anticipated MVFC Big Sky Challenge Series returns for the 5th year. The 2 conferences have combined for 16 national titles and make up 11 of the 25 ranked teams in the Stats Perform FCS preseason poll. Notably, the first 4 years of the series featured at least one ranked team in all but 3 matchups. North Dakota has the Valley out to a 1-0 lead in this year's series with their season-opening win over Idaho State. The Valley leads the Challenge Series 17-10. SIU sophomore quarterback Nick Baker, whose spring season was cut short due to a season-ending foot injury, rewrote SIU record books in the season opener. Making just his 4th career start, Baker set a new SIU school record with 460 passing yards in the Salukis' 47-21 season-opening win over SEMO. Baker hooked up with Avante Cox for a school record 99-yard touchdown on Southern's first offensive play of the game. Baker is 4-0 as a starter for the Salukis and has been named MVFC Offensive Player of the Week after 2 of those 4 starts.
All eyes were on Holy Cross on Saturday afternoon as the Crusaders took an early lead on FBS UConn, and the reigning Patriot League Rookie of the Year shined with 123 yards passing, 112 yards rushing, and 3 total touchdowns in the 38-28 upset win. His 76-yard scamper sparked a 99-yard scoring drive in the 4th quarter that put the game on ice for Holy Cross. Hi, I'm Maria Travel-Peace in the Patriot League studio for FCS All-In. The Crusaders' first win over an FBS school since 2002 caught the attention of many on Saturday, and then on Monday they were recognized in the national polls. Holy Cross is receiving votes and is on the verge of cracking the top 25 of the FCS Coaches Poll, and in the FCS Stats Perform Poll, the Crusaders jumped into the top 25 at number 24. Defense has played a key role for Holy Cross over the last 3 seasons, and it was a force again on Saturday in the win, collecting 4 turnovers, including Jason Modak's pick 6. That was a highlight that garnered plenty of attention on social media on Saturday.
Oh yeah, it was cool. I don't usually hear my name and touchdown going with it. So to hear that was really cool. And then just like after the game, just kind of seeing people on like Twitter and stuff, and people reaching out to me was really cool too. And people calling it a big man touchdown. You don't usually see linemen score, so it's cool.
Big man touchdown! Yes, I love big man touchdowns. That is amazing.
Yeah, so when I kind of just saw him, I was just thinking, just don't let the quarterback tackle me, because I wouldn't have heard the end of it from anybody else if I let the quarterback tackle me. So just making a miss, and then kind of it was great having see my teammates all sprinting as fast as they can to block for me, and then I think they were all my teammates were all super excited. And then there's pictures at the end, and people smile like full smiles in the end zone, and then everyone just celebrating. So yeah, it was a really cool play. Just kind of watching it over and see my teammates just really getting out there and blocking for me was really cool too.
Holy Cross will return to action in Week 2 with its home opener against Merrimack at 2 p.m. Colgate will kick off the day with Stony Brook at 1 p.m., while Lehigh and Georgetown hit the road for 2 p.m. contests. Bucknell, Fordham, and Lafayette will cap the week with 6 p.m. kicks. In the late games, Fordham will host Monmouth in its home opener, and we will get the chance to see Ryan Greenhagen back on the field after setting the Division I single-game record for tackles with 31 against Nebraska last week.
It was a cool accomplishment, but I got to give a lot of credit to the defensive line, the entire defense. To be completely honest, I thought everybody had really great effort, and I mean those guys up front take on the double teams. They take on a lot of the grunt of it, so a lot of the credit goes to them.
Greenhagen wasn't the only Fordham Ram to garner national attention, as DeKeith Carter wowed us all with another one-handed catch. It landed at number 1 on our Patriot League top 3 plays this week, but it still doesn't beat the one-handed snag he made in 2019 against Holy Cross. With all 7 schools on the docket for Week 2, we'll be sure to have more highlights to share on social. Be sure to follow us at Patriot League TV on Twitter, and we'll see you back here next week.
FCS All-In rolls on here. Thanks for being here with us. Bryson Lesser from the Big Sky Conference, joined by Craig Haley and Sam Herder. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here with us today. We've got a lot to dissect, so we're just going to jump right on in. It was a phenomenal weekend last weekend for the FCS. Craig, a little bias here, Tom Wistrcill does sign my paycheck, but, the Big Sky Conference just came out and had a weekend, picked up 3 victories over FBS opponents. You're going to be hard pressed to find a weekend better in Big Sky history. Just what did this weekend tell you about where the Big Sky stands?
Well, I think you're right. I mean, the Big Sky's certainly at a 2019 level. I mean, last year was a little disjointed, playing in the spring and not having everybody. 3 FBS wins in the same week. I mean, that's the first conference to do it since 2009. The CAA did it then. So great week. UC Davis, Eastern Washington as a favorite, and then the Grizz with the best weekend of all, victory wise at a ranked Washington team. It's just a great year, a great week overall. I mean, I think you're always looking at CAA, Missouri Valley, and Big Sky, but as the big 3, I think clearly the top tier of the Big Sky has asserted itself, and now it's Missouri Valley and Big Sky are the top 2 at this point of the season.
Sam, there were a bunch of FCS upsets over the weekend, most since 2013. You had South Dakota State going over Colorado State, East Tennessee State knocking off Vanderbilt. Just when you kind of looked at the landscape of everything, what were some of those victories that impressed you the most?
Yeah, South Dakota State definitely was impressive. They answered a lot of questions, especially Chris Oladokin at the quarterback position for South Dakota State, and just how they looked overall as a complete team made me jump the Jackson number 1 in my poll. Holy Cross beating UConn was really impressive. Holy Cross coming out of the Patriot League, a program that has recruited really well the last couple of years. And then ETSU, beating an SEC team, certainly that's impressive in its own right, but how they did it, just completely dominating Vanderbilt was really impressive. And, offensively and defensively, the Bucks looked really, really good.
Good stuff there. Craig, the new Stats Perform Top 25 dropped on last Monday. As you kind of were putting that together and looking at it, what did you see? Kind of what trends are you noticing out of that top 25 poll?
Yeah, great question, Bryce. And I think the top 25 really kind of evaluates the big picture in many weeks, but this particular week, week one, there was strong reaction to the results. People kind of, making changes from the preseason because of, what they saw. All 6 teams that beat FBS opponents are ranked now. Conversely, like you look at a North Carolina A&T, they were number 25. They lost to Furman. They're not even getting top 40 votes now because people reacted to the subpar performance. So I do think, there was a lot of, really close looking at the results. 12 of the top 14 teams are from the 3 conferences that I mentioned, the CAA, Big Sky, and Missouri Valley. So really, they're kind of flexing their muscles, those Power 3 conferences. So I just think it was a strong poll coming off of week one.
Sam, when you were putting together your top 25 this week, what were some of the things you were thinking about and, maybe some tough decisions you had to make as you hit the submit button?
Yeah, the top 5 was tough just to find, a decent order for the top 5. And you can make an argument, a bunch of different ways of how to order the top 5. But for me, the tough part was probably giving teams props for beating FBS opponents, but also, maybe not overreacting too much. Because if UConn was in the FCS, they probably wouldn't be a top 25 team in the FCS. If UNLV was in the FCS, I don't think they'd be among one of the top 25 teams in the FCS. And so you want to give teams like Eastern Washington and Holy Cross a lot of credit, but at the same time, you don't want to jump Eastern Washington all the way up to, a top 5 ranking for beating UNLV, just because, like I said, I don't know if UNLV would be a good FCS team. And so that's just kind of the back and forth you go with, is giving these teams props, but also maybe not, you're acting too much and jumping them up too far.
Let's take a look at the national awards for the week. For Offensive Player of the Week, we had Ren Hemphley from Presbyterian. Co-Defensive Players of the Week, we had Pop Bush from New Hampshire, Ryan Gringham from Fordham. Montrell Williams was the Special Teams Player of the Week from Samford, and Elijah Burris from Hampton was the Freshman of the Week. Of that group right there, who kind of had one of the better weekend than the others maybe, or who impressed you the most from that group?
Well, I think the 2 that really stood out, Ren Hemphley, the Presbyterian quarterback, he's a Michigan transfer of all things. 10 touchdown passes. Obviously, you have to look at the level of opponent. It was an NAIA opponent, St. Andrews. But, Presbyterian's non-scholarship, they're going to play down at times. That's just phenomenal. It was national headlines for Ren Hemphley, to do that 10 touchdown passes. And also Ryan Greenhagen from Fordham, who you mentioned, 31 tackles. That set the single game record for the FCS level, and it was against Nebraska. And the crazy part was, on game day, everybody thought he had tied the record of 30 with 3 other players. And a day later, a teammate pointed out, no, you have me incorrectly getting a sack, and it was Ryan. Both schools looked at the tape and they made a correction on Monday, and he had the record 31. So, just those 2 making national headlines really, I think, are the exceptional ones.
Anytime you can throw out a FCS record, that's a pretty special performance right there. Sam, we don't want to get too negative here on FCS All-In, but give me a team or a player that maybe you were expecting a little more out of week one that didn't quite deliver up to your expectations and you're hoping to see some more out of in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I was excited to see North Carolina A&T, coming from the MEAC to the Big South, and seeing how they could go from, being the 3 or 4 time Celebration Bowl champs and now coming to the Big South and, competing for a playoff spot. And I thought they had a pretty disappointing performance against Furman, losing 29-18. But at the same time, you have to give credit to Furman, because Furman's been a team that has been ranked in the past preseason polls and hasn't necessarily lived up to those preseason rankings. And so give a lot of credit to Furman for that win, but at the same time was kind of expecting a bit more from A&T.
Perfect. Guys, we have another fantastic slate of games today, another full college football Saturday. From this week 2, Craig, we'll start with you. What games are you looking forward to the most, and where do we potentially see a couple more FCS over FBS upset?
Well, it's going to be hard to top last week. I believe it's 37 games this week. The FBS level has to be on guard a little more. I think it'll make it tougher. There's going to be some opportunities like in Illinois State at a Western Michigan or Nichols at Louisiana. I just think it's a big weekend for storylines because a lot of the top-notch championship level FBS programs are playing FCS. Mercer is playing at Alabama. McNeese is at LSU, and that storyline is just phenomenal. Cody Orgeron, the McNeese quarterback, taking on his father, the LSU coach, Ed Orgeron. But you look at a Clemson and just Auburn, those kind of teams. It's just great FBS opponents. Maybe not the upsets as much, but just great storylines for the FCS.
Sam, same question to you. What games have your eye this weekend the most?
Yeah, I'm interested to see how Southern Illinois plays against Kansas State. I think that could be pretty competitive. VMI going to Kent State should be a pretty competitive game. And then Southeastern Louisiana University is playing Louisiana Tech. Again, another interesting game that could be competitive. The one FCS, there's several pretty good FCS versus FCS games. The only one that's ranked is number 19 Central Arkansas going to number 23 Missouri State. A bit of an under the radar is Western Illinois going to Montana. The Grizz obviously coming off one of the best wins, FCS over FBS wins in history. And Western Illinois was picked to finish last in the Valley, but they almost beat their FBS opponent last weekend, competing pretty well with Ball State. And so I'm not saying the Leathernecks are going to go in there and get a win, but I can see, Montana maybe being favored by a few touchdowns and then Western Illinois giving them a really close game into the fourth quarter, just, kind of that emotional letdown thing. So that's kind of an under the radar game that I'll be watching.
Great stuff, guys. Craig Haley from Stats Perform, Sam Herder from Hero Sports. Before we go, I want to give you both a quick second here to plug what you've been working on, what you've been doing, and what FCS fans can be on the lookout for. Sam, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Yep, I'll have another episode of the FCS Football Podcast or FCS Football Talk Podcast out early in the week, and as always, every Monday I'll release what my what my top 25 ballot looks like. I always like to show my work when I submit that ballot, and I'll have that out usually on Mondays.
And Craig, same to you. What do you got? What do you got in the cooker over there?
Thank you, Bryson. Yes, we'll review this weekend's games. We'll jump right into a new poll on Monday, top 25, and then, the Stats Perform National Players of the Week. So it's crazy. We're on week 2. It just, the preseason flew by and here we are. And before we know it, we'll be talking stretch drive and going towards the playoffs. So there's a lot ahead and we keep up with it.
Awesome. Great stuff, gentlemen. Thank you so much. And we will continue on here with FCS All-In. Until next time. We'll see you later.
For the first time in 3,199 days, we had a conference football game in the WAC. I'm Eric Danner with the WAC report for FCS All-In. We knew one thing was for sure when Stephen F. Austin hosted Tarleton, a team in purple would come out on top. At Homer Bryce Stadium in Nacogdoches, playing on the brand new turf, Tarleton jumping out to a 10-0 lead, then the Lumberjacks scored 20 unanswered points, including this Miles Reed touchdown in the fourth quarter. That put SFA up for good. They win 20-10. Quarterback Trey Self is the Ticket Smarter WAC Offensive Player of the Week. He was 18 of 26 for 235 yards and a touchdown. He also rushed for 47 yards on 11 attempts. SFA's Max Quick is the Ticket Smarter Special Teams Player of the Week. Quick averaged more than 48 yards on 4 attempts, including a 61-yard effort. On Thursday night, number 1 ranked and defending national champion Sam Houston playing at Northern Arizona to start the year. Bearcats strike first with Brennan Tibbs going 41 yards for the score. Eric Schmid with 3 touchdown passes on the night. Sam Houston up 21-10 at the half. Trevor Williams getting the play of the game. The linebacker with the pick 6. He goes 75 yards for the house call. Bearcats win 42-16. Williams is named Ticket Smarter Defensive Player of the Week. That interception was also the first of his career. Williams added 4 tackles on the night. In Beaumont, Texas, Lamar hosting North American Jalen Dumais to a wide-open Jack Rowe 42-yard score. The Cardinals score 31 points in the first half and roll to a 47-3 victory. Let's go to St. George on Saturday. Dixie State hosting Sacramento State. Quarterback Cody Wilstead scrambles 12 yards for the touchdown. Trailblazers down 12-7 in the first half, wind up falling 19-7. Abilene Christian traveling to Dallas to face SMU. Kobe Clark with a nice game, catching 6 passes for 89 yards and a touchdown, but the Wildcats fall to the Mustangs 56-9. No conference games on the schedule this week, but 3 WAC teams will make their home openers. That includes number 1 ranked Sam Houston. The Bearcats host Southeast Missouri in their first game in Huntsville this season. The Redhawks lost last week to Southern Illinois 47-21. That will be a 6 p.m. Central Time kick from Elliott Bowers Stadium on ESPN+. ACU also plays their home opener, taking on Louisiana College, also at 6 p.m. Central on ESPN+. Same goes for Tarleton. The Texans will be in Stephenville, taking on Fort Lewis at 6 Central on ESPN+. 2 WAC teams will be on the road this week as Stephen F. Austin and Lamar will travel within the great state of Texas. The Lumberjacks take on Texas Tech. The Red Raiders knocked off Houston in their opener 38-21. That is a 6 p.m. Central Time start on ESPN+. And Lamar travels to UTSA. The Roadrunners beat Illinois last week 37-30. That is a 5 p.m. Central Time kick on ESPN3. Our featured game of the week is Dixie State hosting in-state rival Weber State. The Trailblazers starting with a very tough schedule this season. Weber State started off the year ranked number 6 in the FCS and are the defending Big Sky champions. The Wildcats fell to 24th ranked Utah 40-17 last week. This will be the second time Dixie and Weber have faced one another. The first time was back in 2008 with the Wildcats winning 44-7 in Ogden. This matchup will be an 8 p.m. Mountain Time kickoff in St. George and will also be on ESPN+. For FCS All-In, I'm Eric Danner.
Up next is a look at the OVC with a special feature on new Tennessee State head coach Eddie George.
The lone new head coach in the Ohio Valley Conference this season is no stranger to fans of the sport. Tennessee State's Eddie George won a Heisman Trophy at Ohio State and went on to a 9-year NFL career, 8 of those with the Tennessee Titans, where he would start 130 consecutive regular season games and rush for over 10,000 yards. After he retired from professional football, George became involved in several business endeavors, pursued an acting career, and got to spend more time with his family. But what ultimately made him want to become a college football coach?
If you asked me that question about 7 months ago, it would have been, hey, I'm happy working on my golf game, building my businesses, watching my son play high school football. My oldest is in grad school at USC Film School, and just being a dad and a husband and businessman and an actor. But when I was presented with this opportunity and I looked into it and did my homework and really did a bunch of soul searching, there was presented an opportunity for me to mentor, to coach, to inspire, to help change a culture, a school that has the bones of greatness. I've been coaching my whole life. I've been coaching during my professional days, coaching thereafter, mentoring to young men and women about life, about financial literacy, about football. So I haven't coached in the sense that on game day, making a 4th down call or kicking an onside kick or decided to do a fake field goal. I haven't coached in that sense, but the meat of it has been mentoring young people to reach their fullest potential.
Since 1999, Tennessee State has played a majority of its games at Nissan Stadium, the home of the Tennessee Titans. This year, all 4 TSU home games will be at the stadium, a venue that saw its fair share of Eddie George touchdowns during his playing days with the Titans.
Once I thought my playing days were done, I would never walk through the tunnel again. And I say that in a couple of my speeches that once you're done, your playing days are done, you're done. You know, you'll never hear the roar of the crowd, the clacking of the cleats, the smell of popcorn, seeing the insects dance off the stadium lights at night, you know, the fresh cut grass in July when you know it's time to play football. I never thought that I would experience that again unless I was watching my children play. But now I have the opportunity as a head coach to go in a stadium where I was relatively successful in, and to, as a player, I was very successful, and as a coach, now to scour the sidelines is a tremendous deal. And, you know, I say this all the time, you know, you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. And it's amazing now that I'm full circle.
This weekend, Coach George and the Tigers will square off against Jackson State at the Southern Heritage Classic in Memphis. Across the sideline from him will be another standout NFL player who has made his way into the college ranks in Deion Sanders.
It's not me against Deion. You know, we're the head coaches, but this is an opportunity to highlight two great institutions, two teams that are pursuing championships, pursuing excellence. And I think it's going to be a wonderful opportunity to highlight the talent of our kids.
Fans are excited to see what Coach George and the Tennessee State Tigers can accomplish this season.
All 12 CA football teams are back in action on Saturday. But before we break down those matchups, let's take a quick look back at an exciting Week 1 as New Hampshire and Delaware started the season with conference wins on the road. New Hampshire opened up a 27-0 third quarter lead before holding off a furious Stony Brook comeback during a 27-21 victory. Wildcats quarterback Brett Edwards passed for 233 yards and 3 TDs in his second career start, while safety Pop Bush contributed 10 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 2 forced fumbles, and an interception, earning FCS National Defensive Player of the Week accolades. Delaware sprinted out to an early 17-0 advantage only to see Maine rally for 24 second quarter points to grab a halftime lead. However, the Blue Hens got a 66-yard touchdown pass from Nolan Henderson to Tyrick Pitts early in the third quarter to go back on top, and then pitched a shutout in the second half to earn a 34-24 win. Pitts and teammate Gene Coleman combined for 10 receptions for 236 yards and 2 touchdowns. CA teams posted a 5-3 record in non-conference play, with JMU, Rhode Island, Richmond, Towson, and Villanova all winning by at least 24 points. There are 9 games on the Saturday CA slate, highlighted by 3 conference matchups. Second-ranked JMU hosts Maine at 4 p.m. Black Bears head coach Nick Charleston knows his team faces a big challenge against the Duke's defense that held Morehead State to minus 57 yards rushing last week.
You know, I mean, they're one of the better fronts, along with the one we just played. So we know how talented they are. And, you know, I think they do a really good job of just letting those guys play ball. Again, you know, I think it's going to come down to a lot of the fundamental things and execution that we need to do on Maine's end in order to move the football and score points.
JMU head coach Kurt Signetti was very impressed with the effort Maine put up against Delaware.
It was a great football game they played against Delaware. You know, they got down early and showed resiliency and came back, took the lead, you know, had a chance to score again. And just your typical Maine team now. These guys, they get after it, they're tough, and they're very athletic.
New Hampshire entertains Towson in a battle of 1-0 teams at 6 p.m. Wildcats head coach Sean McDonald is expecting a tough physical game with the Tigers.
Going back to Robbie Ambrose, what he hung his hat on when they were a program that was, you know, where he wanted to be just like us, you know, playing hard, tough, hard-nosed football, flying around. On the defensive side, they fly the football, get 11 helmets and dent that ball, do a good job. So,
Towson head coach Rob Ambrose knows his team is in for a battle against a formidable New Hampshire defense.
Exceptional defense, impressive offense, always good on special teams, and very well coached. It would be okay and doable and really wouldn't bother me if they didn't have any back end players that were any good, but they just got all Americans on the back end, so we'll have our hands full.
Capping off the day, Rhode Island travels to UAlbany at 7 p.m. Rams head coach Jim Fleming is concerned about slowing down a Great Danes offense led by quarterback Jeff Undercuffler.
Yeah, I think Undercuffler is really one of the better quarterbacks in the league that has the opportunity to get better and better. It's, you know, it's all a factor of, you know, what's happening this next week for both of these football teams.
After facing FCS power North Dakota State in Week 1, UAlbany head coach Greg Gattuso knows his team is taking on another strong opponent on Saturday.
open it with number 3 or 4 in the country. You know, Rhode Island may be ranked this week. An ACC team, you know, a number top 5 Delaware team. You know, this is what we're playing. So we better be ready to go toe to toe with everybody if we're going to try to win some games.
Here's a look at the rest of the schedule in CAA football.
After an exciting opening weekend of Southland Conference football, let's take a look back at some of our standout performances as we recognize our weekly award winners presented by Geico. After beating North Alabama 49-28, 2 Southeastern Lions take home weekly awards, while the other goes to an HBU Husky. Picking up right where he left off last season, Southeastern quarterback Cole Kelly is named the Offensive Player of the Week. Racking up 306 yards of total offense himself, the senior completed 30 of 41 passes for 263 yards and 3 touchdowns, while also adding 43 yards and another score on the ground. Collectively, the Lions offense racked up 495 yards of total offense, converted 10 of 15 third down attempts, and had the ball for nearly 37 minutes in the win over North Alabama. Kelly's teammate Orlando Jordan takes home the Defensive Player of the Week honor for the 3rd time in his career after setting a conference record last weekend. With Southeastern holding a 2-touchdown lead in the 4th quarter, the junior cornerback sealed the victory and set a conference record with a 41-yard pick six, his 5th career interception return for a touchdown. In addition to the interception, Jordan also broke up a pass in the 49-28 victory over North Alabama. And HBU's Brady Buell is this week's Special Teams Player of the Week. The junior punter started his year off with a bang in the hard-fought battle with New Mexico, setting a school record with a 50.9 yard punt average on 9 boots. 4 of his attempts traveled more than 50 yards, including a pair that went for 59 yards, while 4 were placed inside the 20. A big congrats to Cole Kelly, Orlando Jordan, and Brady Buell, our first Player of the Week award winners of the season. Now let's turn our attention towards this weekend's games. All 6 Southland schools will be in action, with 2 schools hosting home openers, while the other 4 take to the road. Coming off a hard-fought battle against New Mexico last Thursday, HBU plays in front of a home crowd for the first time since November 16, 2019, as they welcome Northern Colorado to Husky Stadium at 6 p.m. on ESPN+. Looking to win its 4th straight home opener and bounce back from last week's close loss to Youngstown, UIW kicks off against Prairie View A&M at 7 p.m. on ESPN3. After starting its season in the win column with a victory over North Alabama last week, Southeastern will have its hands full Saturday with FBS opponent Louisiana Tech. For the 2nd week in a row, Nichols will play an FBS team as they go head-to-head with Louisiana at 6 p.m. on ESPN3. And in the final Southland game of the night, father and son will be pitted against each other as Cody Orgeron and his McNeese Cowboys play against his father, Ed Orgeron, and his LSU Tigers. Again, here's a look at the full Southland slate for Saturday. Best of luck to all of our student athletes taking the field this weekend.
Delaware State kicked off the 2021 season this past weekend with a 32-24 win over Bowie State. The Hornets held Bowie State to just 191 yards of total offense and forced 6 Bulldog turnovers, including an 87-yard interception return for a touchdown by Isaias Guthrie in the 2nd quarter. Running back Syvion Wilkerson had a game-high 92 yards on the ground and 3 rushing touchdowns. South Carolina State lost the shootout 42-41 to defending SWAC champion Alabama A&M on Saturday, despite having 3 players rush for at least 70 yards and racking up over 450 yards total offense. Kendrell Flowers rushed for 3 touchdowns for South Carolina State, and Corey Fields Jr. tossed for 213 yards and a 46-yard touchdown pass to Shaquan Davis near the end of the 2nd quarter. Howard University got 226 passing yards from Quentin Williams, and Jarrett Hunter rushed for a game-high 93 yards, but the Bison fell 38-14 to number 22 Richmond in the Bison season opener this past Saturday. MEAC preseason Offensive Player of the Year Jawan Carter threw a touchdown pass in the Spartans' 49-10 loss to Toledo, and Morgan State opened its season with a 31-0 loss to Towson in the battle for Greater Baltimore. This week, all 6 MEAC football programs will be in action. Norfolk State will play at Wake Forest. Morgan State and Tulane will square off in Birmingham, Alabama. Delaware State will be home once again, taking on Georgetown on the MEAC Digital Network on ESPN+. South Carolina State will take on Clemson. North Carolina Central will return to action following its win in the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge kickoff, taking on Marshall. And Howard will face Maryland. For more information on MEAC football and other sponsored sports, please visit MEACsports.com. Also, follow the MEAC on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at MEAC Sports, and subscribe to the MEAC Digital Network on YouTube.
Next up, we have the Pioneer Football League taking a look back at a big week for Presbyterian and a look ahead to Week 2 action.
The 2021 season is officially underway in the Pioneer Football League, as 8 of the 11 programs got their start last week. 3 teams picked up home victories, while a record-setting performance highlighted the action. In his first game as head coach of the Presbyterian Blue Hose, Kevin Kelly brought his unique style of offense to the college ranks and did it in a record-setting fashion. The team racked up 84 points in the win, while quarterback Ren Heffley threw an NCAA FCS record 10 touchdown passes. Heffley went on to earn Offensive Player of the Week honors for the PFL after this performance, which included 538 passing yards. Drake picked up a win to open their season, taking down West Virginia Wesleyan in a great defensive outing. The Bulldogs defeated the Bobcats 45-3 and just missed out on a shutout after a late field goal make by Wesleyan. Bulldog safety Alex Rogers earned Defensive Player of the Week honors for the league after collecting his first career interception in the second quarter. Rogers also tallied 3 tackles in the game. Stetson collected the league's other win as Brian Young made his debut at the helm. The Hatters earned a season-opening win over Warner, defeating the Royals 54-14. Stetson kicker Cameron Gillis connected on a pair of 35-yard field goals and hit 6 extra points to earn Special Teams Player of the Week honors. The league has 10 games this weekend, featuring contests against 3 teams ranked in the top 25. Here's a look at the full schedule.
This is Kendra Watkins with the ASUN Conference, and we are all in for Week 2 of FCS football. However, before we get started, we're going to have the ASUN's Adesola Abisoye look back and wrap up all of Week 1's action.
Gang, 334 to the 256, you know what I'm saying? I'm back home, Carl alumni, you know what I'm saying? In the city tonight. Be here, watch it on TV.
Off right tackle, ball came out, let's check. And stopped after a gain of about 3. This time Lang again stumbled just a bit, lost the football, and looks like UCA had a bounce right to him.
What's up? It's Adesola Abisoye coming to you with a weekly recap. Congrats to Eastern Kentucky as they beat Western Carolina 31-28 to help the ASUN win its first ever football game. The top performances from this past game were Deshaun Hewitt, who rushed for 78 yards, 3 touchdowns off 22 carries. Mo Edwards also had 6 catches for 103 yards and 1 touchdown. These top performances helped EKU outlast the Catamounts.
The first season of ASUN football rolls into week 2 with number 16 Jacksonville State and Eastern Kentucky seeking wins against ACC opponents as the Gamecocks battle Florida State and the Colonels face off against Louisville.
They're talented. They've got new parts in their system too that they're trying to figure out in game 1. And I've coached in that setting, and that's a hard game to coach. I mean, it's 8 o'clock on Monday night, and you got a game the next Saturday. So you're planning for 2 opponents usually that week, and you're trying to make sure you win game 1. And, it's a tough game to coach in. It's a tough game to play in. They probably got home late last night, 4 or 5 in the morning, and, they're up at work trying to grade the film and get ready to go. So, I think you'll see a different Louisville team when we come into town. I think you'll see a team that's corrected the mistakes they made. They'll play fast and they'll play physical, and we'll have to match that.
So you're starting off the year with 2 potentially, top 25 teams, because they could have easily won that game the other night against Notre Dame. I mean, they rushed it for, I think, 305, and Notre Dame rushed it for like 67, 70, something like that. So, they're running the football very well. They just got athletes all over the field offensively. So you're going to go in the game and not give up big plays, and you got to somehow stop that run. And that's kind of what they hurt us with last year in the second half was that. But we got a work cut out for us in this one. And I go back to, our guys, it's face this opponent. It's all about how the Gamecocks play, and we need to play better.
Number 19 Central Arkansas travels to Springfield, Missouri for a matchup against number 23 Missouri State. Central Arkansas and Missouri State face off for the 5th time this Saturday as the Bears lead the all-time series 3-1, with UCA having never lost on MSU's home field. These 2 squads faced off twice during the 2020 season, with Central Arkansas winning both contests. UCA's defense forced a total of 10 turnovers across the 2 matchups. Kickoff time is set for 7 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Welcome back into Northeast Conference territory. It's the NEC on FCS All-In. And we're talking top plays from week 1. It's the NEC Football Super 7 Countdown. Let's have a look at the top 7 plays from week 1 on the NEC gridiron. Down to Fort Worth, Texas for play number 7. TCU is on the move, but Duquesne's All-NEC safety Leandro DeBrito ends the drive at the 5-yard line. There he is with the interception. Plenty more defense to come on this week's countdown. Play number 6 from the Battle for Ocean State bragging rights. Bryant cuts into the URI lead thanks to a perfect placement by Gage Maloney and the subsequent snag by Landon Ruggieri. Definitely a candidate for You Got Mossed. Play number 5. It's St. Francis at Eastern Michigan, and a strong-handed grab by Raymond Crittenden to deny the Eagles on the deep ball. It was the Red Flash's first ever game against an FBS opponent. Play number 4. It's another interception, but on this one, Merrimack's Kenneth Cooper makes the house call.
Other times have looked like they aren't with this program, and that one's picked off on the close sideline. It's going to go for 6. Kenneth Cooper, pick 6.
Play number 3. LIU in Miami facing Florida International, and the grizzled veteran Derek Eugene puts the Sharks on the scoreboard.
Defender fell down. This is going to be a touchdown for Long Island's. On the scoreboard on the deep shot.
Back to the MAC for play number 2. Merrimack quarterback Weston Elliott had himself a day. 401 passing yards and 5 touchdown passes. But the most impressive pitch and catch was this 4th down conversion to Maurice Nelson. 4th and 10. Elliott extends the play. He finds Nelson, who does a remarkable job to stay in bounds with the toe drag swag. What a highlight. What an opener for the Merrimack Warriors, who roll past St. Anselm. In the number 1 spot on the Week 1 Super 7 countdown, it's a 2-for-1 from Sacred Heart's Julius Chestnut. The Pioneers trying to build on a 7-0 lead over Bucknell. It's 3rd and 18. Have no fear. Chestnut moves the chains with back-to-back carries. He went for 170 yards in this one. Also capped this drive with a touchdown.
The Pioneers going for it on 4th down, and Chestnut's got the first across the 35 of the 5-yard run.
So I hope you enjoyed the Super 7 plays from Week 1 in Northeast Conference football. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you again next week.
And now for a look back at the Ivy League's media days from this past August.
We are a bigger, faster team. And when we hit that field, we intend to hit it as a faster team than we played and make those strides and improvements. So they've showed great leadership and dedication to the actual sport itself, making sure that they're better players and that they're more equipped and ready to play this fall.
I think it was an unreal moment when we first got back to campus. Some of the guys who haven't been there, for me personally in May, and just seeing guys for the first time in probably a year, it was unreal. But it was kind of cool because it was sort of like we just picked right back up.
And the guys on the team have just done a great job of showing resiliency and overcoming adversity and coming together. Particularly the kids that are I call them super seniors, right? Like you're rearranging your whole life, whether it's at Cornell or Brown or Penn, right? They're taking off semesters, they're taking off years academically, they're getting jobs, they're finding gap years, to play.
The most fun thing for me was seeing guys in spring practice that had not seen each other for a long period of time, and just the jubilation and the enthusiasm, the excitement. We forgot a lot of things and lined up offside or missed a block or that type of thing. But just to see the guys how excited they were to get back together.
For me, it's a huge accomplishment just in the fact that for us, my teammates elected me, and to know that they hold me in that regard, to know that they see me as that type of leader, as that type of player, and that they're willing to get behind me to take us on this next step as we take this journey towards an Ivy League championship means everything. And it just is a testament to the hard work that I've put in, to the investment that the coaches and that my family have put into me to get me to this point in my life. So can't really speak too much on it. It's a testament to a lot of hard work that has got me to this point.
I believe in our team. I believe in our coaching staff. I believe we all understand what our mission is, okay? And the mission right now is not to worry about Bucknell on the 18th, but to worry about Saturday morning, and we're going to take it one day at a time. But I do believe by the time we get to that game day that our kids will play Penn football. We will be gritty, we will be tough, we will be resilient, and we will play for 4 quarters. And that's all you can ask of any team when they get there, is just to give it what they have. But I think we have good talent and a pretty gritty bunch to roll out there.
I just really feel that I'm truly grateful and truly blessed to receive those acknowledgments. But really, I'm just focused on getting to camp and seeing my boys again, really, honestly, because I haven't seen majority of these guys for a very long time. Like Colin, I've only seen him a couple of times during this year off. And so really, these accolades really don't mean anything until we get back to work, and just for us to bond again on the field and to get working and up under the leadership of Coach Serace. Like, I'm just looking forward to us to gelling and just balling out this season, honestly.
You've got to be willing to pivot, and you've got to be willing to
look at each situation on a day-to-day basis and say, what's the best thing for my football team? And, there's a lot of unknown out there on the day-to-day on each season, on every season. So I think you treat it like you do every year, where you have to be ready to adapt into whatever situation you have.
Thanks for going all in with us. You can catch every episode of FCS All-In right back here every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that bell icon to stay up to date on all the latest FCS All-In content. Until next week, let's be sure to keep the conversation going on social media by using the hashtag FCS All-In.